said, you get married one day, if your wife wants to work, that's fine. And if she doesn't want to work, that's fine too. But I'm going to tell you right now, son, a man must work. Said that's the first step to manhood. A man must provide. Provision is the first key. And I thought about that, and I look back and I reflect today. When I was growing up, I never saw a black man out of work. I never saw a man, period, regardless of culture or background, out of work, begging on the street. I had a playmate who was Asian. I had a playmate who was back then the only Hispanics I was around. I had friends who were white, friends who were black. But what do we all have in common? If their father wasn't home, they were either killed in World War II or killed in the Korean War, period. And I had a couple of friends that happened to. And so many of my playmates, the mother was a housewife. But now times change. And I speak of change. And as LinkedIn says, adaptability. Change, and you're going to be changed by change. But the fact of the matter is, your implementation can change, but the principles stay the same. And there are principles for manhood. Number one, be the spiritual head of your house. Again, going back to what my father said, never trust a man who doesn't believe in a higher power. Never trust a man who doesn't believe in a higher power. My mother handled all the finances of the house, but when it came time to say grace over the food, my father said grace. My father said the grace. I said to my mother, I said, man, I wish Dad could control the books, man. We could have this, we could have that. My mother said, if your father handled the finances, we wouldn't have lights right now. You wouldn't have water right now. And my mother was a big time saver. I remember when she would transition, we were cleaning stuff. You wouldn't believe the money we found stashed in her Bible, stashed in hat boxes. So, you know, principles stay the same. Now, you can implement them any way that you want. And that's the key, man. We need more, and it all goes back to 1959 when Martin Luther King gave that speech at Purdue University. And he was walking out of Purdue. He was the only African American in that room at the chapel at Purdue University in what? Calumet, Indiana, wherever Purdue was at that time. And he walked out that chapel, got a standing ovation. Everybody bum rush him. Dr. King, greatest message I ever heard. Can we copy your notes, man? He said, no, I just threw some scribblings on a piece of paper. I said, man, where did you get this information? Well, I knew that I was going to come up here and speak, so I just threw my thoughts down on paper. He said, well, man, you need to give this speech more often. As a matter of fact, Dr. King, you need to write a book. And he did write the book. And what was the title of the book? Measure of a Man. Measure of a Man. And he spoke about the positive aspects of manhood. But he also spoke about, you know, hey, we could be a little bit more faithful. We can be a little bit more spiritual. We could be a little bit more forgiving. We could be a little bit more loving. You know, we can be a little bit better than what we are right now. There are some areas of improvement. And I didn't think about the measure of a man until a while back when I saw that movie, King Richard. King Richard. And I hope you guys are taping that. Yeah, King Richard, he has his flaws. And Will Smith has his flaws. Everybody got flaws. But man, that was the measure of a man. This guy wrote a 78-page life plan for his daughters. Not just his two daughters. Yeah, he focused on Venus and Serena. But his other daughters, the other two daughters who finished his school, valedictorian. And it wasn't about playing tennis. Tennis was an aspect of that. They had to be built. He wanted them to excel in the classroom. He wanted them to excel in every area of life. And there's that scene where Venus and Serena just blows those girls. They were playing up, they were coming up through the ranks when they had tennis matches on the other side of town and blew those girls away. And those girls were just flossing and flexing in that Volkswagen van as they were coming back, and he didn't like what he saw. And that reminded me of Dr. King. When in the 1965 Voting Rights Act, when Lyndon Baines Johnson signed that Voting Rights Act, he called his team together and said, man, listen, don't be full of yourself. I don't want anybody gloating. I don't want anybody patting themselves on the back. And I said, man, that's just like King Richard. That's just like Richard Williams. And made them watch Cinderella. Be humble. Humility. What's another word for humility? Grace. Be gracious. Be thankful. That's what this game is about. If anything that we discussed today resonates with you, or you would like to take a deep dive further, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. For your next conference, your next meeting, your next network special, go ahead and bring me in. I would love to talk to you further through coaching, through consulting, or through speaking. Just remember, arguably your wealth choice is your best choice. Make it a great day.